As of today, you've been assigned your first problem-based learning case. Let's take a look at the process and expectations for these assignments. While they do take time and are quite a bit of work, the good news is that following the rubric, using your resources, and doing well on both is like getting an A on an exam. Problem-based learning is a unique method for mastering content. Our course focuses on normal physiology. And with these PBL cases, we'll get to see how normal physiology is tied to pathophysiology. Now here we see the PBL methodology of learning by solving a problem. The purpose of PBL for this course is going to be threefold. 1, learning course content at a deeper level, furthering ourselves up the triangle. 2, using peer-reviewed scientific articles to support our viewpoints. And 3, writing at the college level. So I want you to focus on this process, the science, and the writing, not on a correct diagnosis. 47 out of 50 points on a PBL is devoted to your analysis and your explanation. Only 3 are earned for being right. So focus on that 47 at all times and not the 3. I often see students spend so much time trying to figure out a disease that they run out of time and submit a poorly researched and supported analysis. Please don't put yourself in that situation. Follow the timeline and this process. Choose a diagnosis based on your research that just makes sense. Then argue the living daylights out of it. You will find a rubric and timeline on Blackboard for reference. Now, I will be providing some very specific steps and a timeline, but here's an overview. First, read that case carefully, don't panic. Next, identify the key facts by using the free internet. In other words, Google the signs, symptoms, and test results. Read through at least 6 different sources. After a while, you'll start to see a trend. The same 3 to 5 diagnoses popping up again and again. So by the end of week 1, choose one diagnosis that seems to make the most sense. Now, spend week 2 researching your chosen diagnosis, first on the free internet and then in the library databases. By the middle of week 2, you should have a list of topics that would answer each of your question prompts. Spend the second half of week 2 using these library databases for access to those peer-reviewed scientific journal articles. I do recommend asking librarians for assistance in searching these databases. And yes, I will check your literature cited sections and deduct points for inappropriate citations. Your minimum of 3 citations must come from these databases and no other resource. Now, while writing your final submission, I do recommend you take a rough draft covering the 3 perspectives to the Writing Center. The faculty there can review your rough draft for style and grammar. When you take the rough draft, also take the rubric and these 3 perspectives to the Writing Center so they can reference these documents in their review. Grammar and construction are important and included in the rubric. So what do I mean by 3 perspectives? Every question response needs to cover these 3 aspects. Every question. The first perspective is, well, what do you think the answer is? Then you're going to justify that with the second perspective, which is a discussion of everything about your patient that made you think that this is the answer. The third perspective is some science that supports your answer. This is where the peer-reviewed scientific journal articles come into play. So again, every question has 3 perspectives. The first part of your answer for each question is what you think the answer is. The second part is everything about your patient's story that supports this answer. And the third part is reference to some peer-reviewed science that supports your answer. And so here are some resources. Again, start with a rough draft. You may email that to me for a preview. You could even take it to the Writing Center. You can share this case with professionals if you know them. Absolutely. You may bounce ideas off of each other and share resources in groups on Blackboard with a new discussion board. Definitely check the rubric that is on this assignment to see how you will be graded. Utilize the embedded librarian when it comes to searching for citations that you will use in your paper from those databases. And again, once you have a rough draft done, consider making an appointment with the Writing Center to get some feedback for style and grammar. So, what should the format of these perspectives be? I do not want a title page, a thesis statement, or a concluding paragraph. I literally want question number 1. Give me your 3 perspectives. Okay. I literally want, pretend like my handwriting is better. Number 2, those 3 perspectives. Number 3, those 3 perspectives. I literally want just the responses to each question in correct order. In addition to all of this, once you're done with the question response, those 3 perspectives, then you're going to cite those sources. This is the format of the citation. In science, we use parenthetical citations. It is a open parentheses, last name of up to the first 3 authors, comma, the year it is published, closed parentheses. No endnotes, no footnotes. The very last page of your submission will be called a literature cited section, and that's where you'll give me the full citation. And remember, throughout this process, it's about the 47 points in your argument. It's not about the 3. Don't sacrifice 47 points for just 3. So let's talk about a timeline. Here's my recommendation. In week 1, spend this time using the free internet like Google, Bing, whatever. Research the signs, symptoms, and test results so you know what these things mean. As mentioned, you'll start to see the same 3, 4, 5 diseases or pathologies showing up again and again and again. By the end of week 1, settle on one pathology. Do not spend more than 7 days on this process. At the end of week 1, settle on one pathology. Now run with it. Spend the first half of week 2 using the free internet to research those questions and find information that you'll use to respond to those 3 questions, to respond to the questions with your 3 perspectives. Then spend the second half of week 2 looking up that information in the library databases. And as recommended, the librarians are excellent at providing assistance. Now, in the first half of week 3, take your rough draft to the Writing Center. Have them review it with you for style and grammar perspective. Spend the second half finalizing your rough draft and submitting your final report.